You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rebelpreneur Radio. This is Ralph Brogden, where we are trying to help you discover the secrets of business success as well as life success to help you build the business you need to live the life you want. Today, I am speaking with Theresa Hummel-Krallinger. She is a corporate prophet and a professional stand-up comedian. She's a past president of Greater Philadelphia ATD and Bluebell Toastmasters, and she currently serves on the non-credit faculty at Temple University, where she teaches courses in business communications and leadership. A core component of Theresa's business is working with leaders to reignite the soul of their organization through leadership development and creating a place where people want to work. Theresa, welcome to the program. It sounds like you have your work cut out for you, helping create places where people want to work. How do you do that?
Yes, well, I do it in a number of ways. First of all, it's a blessing to be able to do this kind of work. Some of us are lucky enough to find that niche where we know we're meant to be, and I certainly know this is it for me. I'm a corporate chick. I've worked in corporate America my entire career, and being able to step out and assist them to really help leaders understand what it takes to make a great place to work and how to be a great leader and a great manager. So I am blessed to do that with all kinds of companies. I've worked with very, very large organizations, but a lot of my work is with small to medium-sized companies that just need a little direction on what they can do to be better managers and leaders at their workplace.
You know, that's so valuable.
I'm very lucky.
Yeah, that's really valuable and really important because in all the studies I have looked at with organizational behavior and psychology in the workplace, the number one complaint that people have is they don't get along with their manager, boss, or immediate supervisor. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's because that's the key component to our joy factor at work. You could work for a fabulous organization with a wonderful reputation, but if you don't get along with your manager, your job is not a happy thing. So, and some of it is some of our managers have never really been trained. They've never really been coached. They just kind of fall into the position and are doing the best they can with what they have, but most of them are subject matter experts in a certain field or a certain technology, and they really don't know what it takes to be a good manager or leader, and no one has shown them.
And so that's what you do?
That's what I do. I come in and, first of all, get them to see that this job has a very different set of skills than the job you had before. So some people come up through the accounting field. Some people come up through marketing or training or whatever their area of thought leadership is. Now they need to become students of management and leadership and really embrace that as their new skill set.
So it sounds like smart and gifted people, subject matter experts, thought leaders, or just people who excel. Probably a really good example is someone who's really good at selling, and then the people, the powers that be, elevate them to a sales manager. So now they're not selling, they're managing other salespeople, and they're terrible. Right?
That, sadly, is very common. Yeah, it's most people who get into a management role come up through a subject matter rank, whatever it may be, and those that are really lucky have an organization that helps them build this new skill set. So,
Now, tell me what you do as a corporate prophet. What is a corporate prophet, and how does being a stand-up comedian work in with that? Does that keep you from being too depressed at the future?
Well, I'll tell you, stand-up comedy is kind of a fun little add-on. I had never intended to be a paid stand-up comic. I thought of myself as a very serious corporate chick, and that was what I did. But I took a stand-up comedy class, and for graduation, we did 5 minutes in front of a live audience, and people laughed. And I've been doing stand-up comedy now for 15 years. But it helps keep me grounded. It helps me to keep perspective so I don't get so sucked into the hairball of seriousness and corporate life, right? So that's how the comedy weaves in. And being a corporate prophet is, I recognize that every company at its inception had a soul. And the soul is bigger than just wanting to make a profit. The soul is doing something that is going to benefit people in some way. And over time, organizations can lose their soul and become focused on solely profit or other things that really detract from the original intention behind the organization. So I like to work with leaders to help them either repair the soul if it's broken or restore it if it's gone, because people want to work for companies that have a soul. Yeah, and I think you know it when you see it. Organizations where you work with them and their customer service is excellent and you feel cared for as a customer. Typically, they're working for an organization that has a soul.
Interesting. I think a lot of people will associate that to a nonprofit organization or some type of a cause. Is that really something that is very common in corporate America, or is it really all about the bottom line, or are there companies out there that are trying to find their soul? What is your experience?
I think there's a mix of both, but I think the organizations, frankly, they make best place to work lists. If you look at, I know here in Pennsylvania, we have best place to work PA. There's a best place to work New Jersey, top workplaces Philadelphia. There's the Great Place to Work organization that comes up with national lists. A lot of those organizations have leaders that focus on ensuring that there is a people orientation to their business, that there is good people infrastructure. They work on building trust, making sure people feel appreciated, open communication. Those are factors that are part of any organization that makes a best place to work list, and I would argue has a soul. It becomes more than just work. Sometimes companies will have volunteer projects. Maybe they have a give back in the community. They volunteer at the local high school. They work at a food bank. They'll do community service work that is beyond what their business is about. But it creates meaning and purpose for the employees that work there. And I think that's the key.
Yeah, I think if people could find a workplace that treated their people the way you describe, I think they could put up with almost any kind of work-related stress or pressure as far as the job is concerned. But if you don't have those basic people skills in place, then it seems like everything is drudgery and you just hate to go to work.
Yes. It's those companies are out there, and it's more than you think. Many times you have to poke around and ask because they're not companies that have brand recognition. You know, we see big companies that have commercials on TV, or it's just something that you can find everywhere. Some of these organizations you wouldn't know unless you really looked for them, but when you do, they're out there.
Interesting.
And it is a great place to work. That's why they get the recognition that some of them apply for these awards and they deserve to win.
Yeah. So you're working with organizations trying to help them find their soul and reignite something beyond just the bottom line. Tell us, how long have you been doing this, and what were you doing before that got you interested in doing this?
It makes me laugh, but I think I have been doing this since high school, and that's crazy. Not in a mindful way. My very first job, I worked at Roy Rogers Family Restaurant, and I don't know if anybody remembers Roy Rogers. They had great roast beef sandwiches, but we had a manager. I was 16 years old. We had a manager that came in and just really felt the need to bark orders at everybody and criticize people's work. And I remember being 16 and going into his office and just saying, Mr. K, can I have 5 minutes with you? I just want to tell you that we all really want to do a good job here, and I don't think you need to yell, and I don't think you need to criticize. I think if you just trust us, tell us what you want, we're probably going to do a good job. And it's funny, I look back at that and I think, what a bold 16-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, how did he respond to that?
You know what? I think he could feel the spirit of my message and the intention behind it. And I think I touched his heart in some way because he really did listen. He really did listen. And I think it all started in that first real paycheck job that I had, where I am just wired to see how leadership impacts the workplace. And then when I got into corporate America, it was just natural for me to be observing, coaching. And fortunately, my first big job, they paid for my education in the field. So I got some nice textbook knowledge and got to work with some thought leaders to really master what it takes to create a good organizational culture, organizational psychology, leadership, interpersonal skills, all of those things. But yeah, I think it started when I was 16.
Wow, that's really interesting. So what was the trigger that caused you? Because a lot of people listening, maybe they're experiencing something similar, but they haven't pulled the trigger to say, okay, I'm going to go out and do this for myself or on my own. I'm going to make the transition from corporate world to entrepreneurial world. What was that transition like for you? And what was the biggest thing, if anything, holding you back in the beginning?
I think that the biggest thing for me was I needed to have some sense that financially I could sustain myself until I built some business. So I wanted to make sure that I had, and I did, about 2 years worth of savings, so that if I had no work at all, which I knew was unlikely, I figured I'd get some work. But even if I had no work at all, I had a cushion that I could lean on to get me through those 2 years. Now, I was very fortunate because I was making money by the second year that I was in business. But just having that cushion was very helpful. And I think as far as pulling the trigger, I have to be honest, I waited for my corporation. I knew that they were doing waves of reorganizations, and I waited for my number to come up. But if my number hadn't come up, I definitely would have left within the next year or so anyway, because I was ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. So if you didn't pull the trigger, somebody else would have at some point.
Yes. But the key was for me, knowing that if I could focus on the building the business rather than worrying about being scrappy and just taking whatever work I could find, that was helpful, that I had that financial cushion. I give credit to those who just hop out and perhaps don't have that. And some of them make a go of it. God bless you. I think I needed to know I had something in my back pocket for a while so that I could really focus on building the business itself. Sure.
And if nothing else, it gives you confidence and not the neediness that so many people have. It's like when I'm working with people, it's like, well, who is your ideal customer? Anybody who breathes and has money to spend, right?
This is true. And I will say, I had the cushion. I can remember taking one job and I learned a valuable lesson. You know when work is right for you and you know when it's not. And I knew, I'm like, this is really not the project for me. And I took it and it was not fun. And that was a valuable lesson. I learned that my first year.
Yeah. Well, some people still haven't learned that. So if you can get that in your first year, I'd say you're doing pretty good.
Pain drives change. I've always said that. Pain drives change. And that pain, that was a valuable lesson. I've not fallen into that again. It's been 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So thinking back to the beginning, if you could start your business all over again and do anything different, is there anything that you would do different?
I think I did a lot of things well. I think the one thing that I didn't do as well, and I've gotten much better, is asking for help and not trying to do everything myself. You know, back then I'm like, oh, I'll build the website. Oh, I'll be the bookkeeper. And I wore all the hats. And it's not that I wasn't competent. It's that it waters down what you really should be focusing on when you're trying to wear all of the business hats. You know, so I farm stuff out now. Like, I have a friend that is good with graphic art and instructional design. Now, could I do some of that myself? Sure. But it's not my thing. Let her do that.
Yeah.
Let her do that. You know, I hired a webmaster. He built a website far better than anything I could ever do. Pay the guy. Have them do that. Focus on your area of expertise.
I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges with people just starting out, especially I think making the transition from the corporate world to the entrepreneurial world. And I guess the challenge is building a new team of people that can take on the things, and you don't have that when you're starting out. You have to build from scratch, and it's just a lot easier to say, well, you know what, if it's going to get done, I've got to do it, and I'll just end up doing it myself. And so you get into this tyranny of doing everything yourself, and pretty soon you don't own a business anymore. You just own a job that you hate.
Yeah, and it's half of the stuff is not fun. It's time consuming because it isn't your area of thought leadership, but you can hobble along and do the best with it. I would give people advice in the beginning, like, look, these are all things that are part of having your own business. See who you can find. And if, say, you don't have the money, I get that. See if you can do a trade for service. Maybe there's something you can do for them, and they do their piece for you.
Yeah. Well, that's economics. That's how our wonderful capitalistic system works. And that's an excellent idea. You don't always have to trade time for dollars. Sometimes you can just barter what you do best with what someone else does best. Yeah.
Example, even now, a friend of mine that is a graphic artist is looking to do some speaking work at major conferences. She's not a public speaker. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll coach you, and I'll help you script out and decide what stories to share. I'll help you with that. Can you help me make my presentations look better? Can you come up with some graphics? Yes. Done.
Yeah. Simple. See, that's the Rebelpreneur mindset. Let's don't do what everybody else is doing. Let's figure out new and exciting ways to do things differently and better than what we could do by ourselves. Exciting. Excellent. So now you have moved on. I mean, you've been in business for 15 years. So you're in a different stage of business challenge now than you were starting out, or than some listeners who are just starting out or haven't even made the move yet, but are thinking about it. But here we are 15 years down the road from when you started your business. What is your biggest challenge right now that you're facing?
My biggest challenge right now is the kind of business I have. So I do training work, I do consulting work, I do coaching work, but what I realize is the product is me, right? So I haven't built the business as a big employer of trainers. I am the trainer. So I think the biggest challenge for me is keeping up with the demand, because I can tell you right now, the market is great. People are bringing people in to do training and coaching. So right now, this is a great problem to have, but keeping up with the demand
Right.
is a big challenge for me this year and next. 2018 is already going to be a fantastic year.
Wow. That's exciting. Yeah, that's exciting.
Knocking on wood, my friend. Knocking on wood. Right now, it looks awesome.
So you've reached the stage in your business where your biggest problem is that there's only one of you and you can't duplicate yourself. And that's a little bit different than leveraging out mundane tasks or things that you don't want to do, you're not great at doing. You're maxing out who you are. So now it sounds like your biggest challenge is being able to teach the teachers.
Yeah.
And create, clone more of you.
Absolutely. And it's on the docket. It is on the agenda because I have a number of wonderful, very competent professional friends that I would like to bring into the business and also get some help. But the way I've built the business is the brand is me, bringing me in to do that kind of work. Mm-hmm. So now it's a matter of building the brand to be a competent set of professionals.
Sure. Yeah.
That just happens to include me.
And you can definitely do that. Tony Robbins does not do everything himself. And
I know.
Some of the Tony Robbins events, he doesn't even show up for.
I know. But it has his brand.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest, Ralph. I am not quite to that caliber yet, but I'm getting there.
Well, you keep on and you will be.
I thank you for that vote of confidence, though.
Now, so you've got all this going on, and your year is already shaping up to be pretty stellar. So it's exciting for you. What do you do to stay motivated and on track every day? Tell us a little bit about your success ritual, if you have one.
My success ritual is, it's not one of those like every morning I get up and meditate for 5 minutes. I'd like to say I do that.
You don't do that?
I don't have that kind of practice. No, I don't. Although I do meditate, but not every morning for 5 minutes. I think my success ritual is, it's a reciprocal approach to life. Like I look at who can I help? And I help them with the intention of just moving them along, but I know it always comes back. So my success ritual is looking for opportunities to help others with the intention of just helping them, but knowing it always comes back. It may not even come back from them, but this good energy that you put out always comes back. So I make sure every week I'm doing something to help somebody else.
Excellent. Even
if it's just give advice, an introduction to somebody that they need to know, maybe some free speaking. I do some speaking for nonprofit groups. So I guess that's my success ritual, and that really is how I've built my business.
Excellent. So what are you working on right now that's got you really excited?
A couple of things that I'm working on right now. One is I want to get the book out the door. This is hopefully the year 2018. Although with all this work coming in, I'm going to have to keep my calendar pretty disciplined. But I have a book about organizational culture called Will Work for Meaning. And it really pulls together a lot of the stories of the work I've done over the years and observations I've made at really awesome organizations that get it. So getting that book out the door. Looking for opportunities for folks who want to get involved with, there's a behavior styles model called DISC, and I do a lot of work with the DISC model, and if people would like to get involved with DISC, bring it into their organizations, that is really big for me this year. I've got a nice assessment tool and some wonderful training materials. So if folks are interested in getting involved or maybe even teaching it themselves, that would be awesome.
Awesome. So if our listeners want to connect with you, reach out and get in touch with you, what's your website?
It is all one word, highfiveperformance.com. So highfiveperformance.com, or they could reach out to me through LinkedIn. Theresa Hummel-Krallinger, just send me a note, or if you send me a LinkedIn connection, just let me know where you heard about me or where we met. And I am happy to connect with anybody who reaches out.
Awesome. So that's high5performance.com to find out more about you and your products and services. Well, this has been motivational and encouraging to me, and I'm sure that our listeners are motivated and excited as well to if nothing else, to really get in there and make something happen in 2018.
I'm telling you, this is a good, from a financial perspective, I'm looking out there. People have some money in their budget. I'm just saying that. Mm-hmm. So have hope.
Yeah. Awesome. So what is, as we close, what would be the most important piece of advice that you would give to someone who wants to start their business or is at a point in their business where they're ready to grow it to the next level?
Work your network. That would be my piece of advice. If you don't have a network, build one. And once you have it, work your network. Be of service to others. Be helpful to them. Know what you're good at and provide that help. And it will come back. I've built a business on it. And I'm doing well. And it's all about just, frankly, being nice. Go out. I think that whole thing of being nice is coming back in fashion. Kind of went out of fashion for a little while, but it's actually back in fashion. I know.
Yeah.
Who thought? I thought I was done.
Yeah.
But I used to be closet nice. Now I can be out in the open. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's working for people. Business people are finding out that if they help others, they get the help they need.
How about that?
So that's my advice. Kind of
the golden rule, right?
Yeah. Or if you are a reader of Adam Grant, he's got the Go-Getter. I'm telling you, it's back in fashion.
Yeah. Okay.
People are talking about the importance of giving and being nice. Okay,
folks. Well, you heard it from Theresa Hummel-Krallinger, the corporate prophet, who's telling you that being nice is the way to be successful. She is the past president of Greater Philadelphia ATD and Blue Bell Toastmasters. And you can find out more about Theresa and her products and services at high5performance.com. Theresa, thanks so much for joining us on the program today. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was awesome. Thank you.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at ralphbrogden.com.